Good evening, Democrats and friendly unaffiliateds and other members of the loyal opposition. I'm Vicki Shea. I'm the chair of the Farrington Democratic Club, and we're here live in the gathering place, which is the Farrington Gathering Place, which is the Homeowners Association building. And we're also on Zoom, so we have a live audience on Zoom that can hear through this magic microphone thing here. And it's also going to be recorded. And so the recording will be on our website, which you probably know where that is because you got here, but it's farringtondems.org. So 3 quick reminders. First of all, please turn off your cell phones. Second, please don't throw out the beverage cups because they're hard plastic and we wash them in the dishwasher between meetings and reuse them instead of putting more. Oh, and also to ask a question, please wait for the microphone. Someone will see your hand and bring the microphone around to you. We want everybody to be able to hear easily and not rely on how loud your voice is, because also the Zoom audience needs to have the microphone in order to hear the question. And the people on Zoom can type their questions into the chat box and they'll be read out. Okay, so we have a double header tonight. First, I'm going to interview Dana Hackney, who's the clerk of Chatham County Superior Court. Oh. And then we're going to move the chairs and give the microphone to Chatham County Sheriff Mike Roberson and sit down and let him. He will talk about all things sheriff. So let me hoist myself up on this chair. There we go. There we go. Okay. So Dana, you have been the clerk of Superior Court, how long?
Hi, everybody. I talk kind of low, so if you can't hear me, let me know and I'll speak up. Okay. Go to close like this. How's that? Okay. I've been the clerk in Chatham County since 2018. I started with the office back in 1999 as a 22-year-old wife and mother. I worked my way up through the office and fell in love with the work. Decided a few years back that I wanted to learn more so I could help my staff and help our staff help you. So I decided to go back to school in 2009, and I went to paralegal school at night while working full-time and being a mother and a wife and a volunteer. And about a few years later, in 2015, I graduated from paralegal school and was certified by the North Carolina State Bar that same year. And then I was lucky enough to run for clerk when my predecessor, Sam Cooper, decided he wasn't going to run again. And I've been the clerk ever since.
So as our board was sitting down and thinking about questions to ask you, the first question was, what is it that you do? Like, what is that? And how does it affect our lives potentially?
A record check, yeah. There are 3 main components with the clerk's office. We are considered the hub of the court system, but the first and foremost, we are record keeper. Every court case that comes through Chatham County comes through my office first, and we're charged with keeping all of those records, anywhere from a complicated civil criminal superior case all the way down to a traffic infraction. We're charged with keeping those records safe, keeping them accurate, and archiving them for later use if need be. If we have another courthouse fire, we need to be able to recreate those records, right? Second main component of the clerk's office is we are court bookkeeper. We take in all court fees, fines, and we're charged with paying those fees, those funds out to the entity that they're supposed to go to. Chatham County has consistently taking in since COVID and about $7 million a year. And we have paid out that much every year also. And I'm proud to say that at our most recent state audit and our internal audit, we received the highest rating that possible. So we're doing something right. But what most people don't realize in North Carolina, the clerk is also judge of probate. And we are the only state in the union that the clerk is also judge of probate. So I am judge over wills, estates, but in North Carolina, that also means guardianships. If someone needs a surrogate decision maker, I'm the judge over those proceedings, including name changes, foreclosures, adoptions, partitions of land. All of those fall within the clerk's jurisdiction. So we are judge of probate, we are a bookkeeper, and we are, first and foremost, though, we are a record keeper. We stay busy.
So do you do all of that yourself, or how big a staff do you have?
So I'm lucky enough that I have a staff of 14. The administrative office of the courts actually has a workload formula that they use to determine how many staff each county needs. By example, Wake County has a staff of almost 200. I think they have 185 employees in their clerk's office, where we have a staff of 14. But unfortunately, the legislature hasn't passed a budget yet this year, and my workload says I need 2 more. So we are busy all the time.
And do you interact with the sheriff or the sheriff's department?
Very rarely. I hardly ever see him. The sheriff and I have developed a very close relationship and a close bond, and we work very well together. I'm lucky to have the relationship that we have with our offices. We tell the good. He and I both will tell you. We tell the bad, but we also tell the good to each other. So we work very closely together.
And I think you already answered this, but I'll ask it anyway. So do you ever sit in the courtroom during a judicial proceeding?
When I'm not on the bench presiding over the proceedings, I also do clerk court sometimes. I have clerked civil, juvenile. I have not done a whole lot of criminal, but yeah, there are some times when, like today, by example, we have 5 sessions of court today in Chatham County. That means I have anywhere from 5 to 9 of my 14 staff in the courtroom, and I'm running the office with maybe 3 or 4. So there are times, because I'm a small office and I'm so short-staffed, I'm filling in wherever I need to be. And if that includes clerking court, then that's where I'll be.
And I know the answer to this, but you have a robe, right?
Just like every other judge in North Carolina, yes, I do have a robe, and it is black. Um, yeah, I do have one.
And I also have seen you swearing in of elected officials. How does that work?
I am one of the entities that is able to do that pursuant to North Carolina statutes. Not every office is able to do that, but the clerk can swear in folks just like any other judge.
So do you officiate at weddings? And if so, do you have any choice about which weddings you officiate at?
Weddings do not fall under the clerk's jurisdiction in North Carolina. That can actually be done by a magistrate. Magistrates do not have a choice which ones they can preside over, which ones they can't. But yeah, that is not my purview. That's over the magistrate.
And can you change the gender on a person's birth certificate?
I cannot change the gender. That is not my jurisdiction. I can do a name change. I am the judge over name changes, so I can do that. But that is over a district court or superior court judge under their purview.
So they can, but it's not the clerk's job. Okay. Are there ever any surprises in your job?
Nah. There is never a dull moment at the courthouse. One of the things I like about the job is that everything is different. Every day is different, and every case that I hear or every case that is heard is different. There's never one that's exactly like another, just like the people they represent. We're not cookie cutters. You guys, people have their own lives, and it affects them differently, and we try to keep that in mind. Many times people come into the courthouse and it's not a happy time. So we try to keep that in mind when people come in, and we're trying to help them and do the best we can.
So that makes me think, do you ever have any concerns about security, about people getting so angry?
There are times when we are concerned. However, the sheriff is over security over the courthouse, and he and his staff do an excellent job, I believe, in keeping us safe and doing all that he can to make sure that the proceedings go well, and that that they're dignified. Also, that they come with a sense of decorum that they deserve.
And here's my last question, then we'll let people in the audience ask the question. So yours is an elected position, right? Do you expect to be on the ballot in 2026? And why do you want to continue to do this job, if so?
I will be on the ballot for 2026. Thank you very much. Um, just like when I started way back in 1999, when I fell in love with the work and with the people and helping people every day. I'm still there. I'm still in love with the work. I'm still in love with helping people. I'm still in love with helping Chatham County grow and be the best that we can be. So as long as I'm able and willing and helpful, then I'll do the best I can for the folks in Chatham.
If anybody has questions, raise your hand, and here comes Tina with the microphone.
Yeah. Well, in thinking about this question and thinking you might say something about it, but a couple of years ago, the News and Observer did a whole series about this terrible new AI system or something, the e-courts, and it sounded like it wasn't going to go anywhere. And then in the paper just recently, they said, "Oh no, now it's everywhere and it's wonderful." What's your experience with e-courts and what does it do?
As I was mentioning to someone else earlier, North Carolina, for the first time in its history, is now a fully digital court system. We don't keep paper records anymore. It's all online. So you can go to nccourts.gov and actually pull up court cases now online. We used to, you had to come in the office and look at those. The system has had its quirks. It was actually an off-the-shelf product that we're having to tweak and make fit in North Carolina. North Carolina is a unified court system, which means every county in the state should work roughly the same way. This system wasn't completely designed for that, so we're having to tweak it a little bit to make sure it works for us. You're right. The last track of, I believe, 10 to 13 counties just went live on eCourts a couple of weeks ago. So the hope is now that every county in the state is live, that we can start making those tweaks to help make it work better for us and for everyone across the state. We are making it work for Chatham County.
Any other questions? Any questions?
There's another one there. That's fine. Oh, really? Thank you. Were you there? My memory. Well, first of all, I want to say I love it when I talk to somebody who holds office for all of us, serves us, and I talk to them and I hear, I think to myself, oh my goodness, this person is exquisitely qualified. I would vote for her any day. I had no idea. But also, my memory of history isn't all that good. The courthouse burned down in 2010, is that right? And so you had already started working for the clerk. And did we lose any documents that we are never going to get back?
So that's a great question. I mentioned earlier about the clerk's office being record keeper. We're charged with keeping those records safe, accurate, and archiving them for later use. At the time of the courthouse fire, the clerk's office was not in the historic courthouse. We were in the courthouse annex. However, I personally did lose 2 clerk files that were being reviewed by the judge over in the courthouse at the time. And we were we were able to recreate those records very easily. So thank goodness we only lost 2. It could have been much worse, but we have plans in place to where we can recreate those records if needed, even with the digital system.
It's a comment. I'd like to give a shout out to Dana because she kind of saved me a few years ago. Do you remember this? When someone said, you need to control your daughter's money, who I have guardianship over. And when we got to court, the guy that was assigned to us hadn't said anything about this. She said, now, Ms. Hotelling, do you realize that you have to account for every penny that is spent and that comes into her accounts? And I'm like, whoa, no, I did not know that. She can't keep a receipt. She goes out to get a Coke and she wouldn't keep the receipt. Who would keep the receipt? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to withdraw my request. So I appreciate that. I already have way too much paperwork for her. So thank you.
Final thing, this woman's name is written D-A-N-A and it's pronounced Dana. Okay, I'm on a mission to try and get people's names right because there's so little left to us that. So thank you to her. We're going to let her off her seat and change the stage set here and bring in Sheriff Roberson. Oh. I'm. Or, yeah, okay. So if you think you just heard from someone exquisitely qualified, you ain't heard nothing yet. Mike has been our sheriff since 2016 and had many other positions in the sheriff's department since I think 2002 in Chatham County. Is that right? Okay. But also specialized training and experience, including public safety, crisis response and group crisis intervention, terrorism response, protecting and serving children, leadership and supervision, communication, diversity, including organizing against racism, and responding to medical emergencies. So we're going to get his view on anything that he wants to talk about, and then he'll take your questions.
Thank you, Vicki. Well, thank you so much for having me in Farrington. I always like coming up here. I don't know if y'all know this, but I grew up just through the woods over there on Jack Bennett Road when this was a real farm, and it was a dirt road over there too. It wasn't paved road back then. So my history is in the woods that you probably live in, where I spent my time when I was little. I seriously want to thank Vicki. Vicki's a great organizer. You don't say no to Vicki. I don't know if y'all figured that out yet. Vicki's going to get you to do it. You just got to go on and say, yes, Vicki, I'll take care of it. So I'm very, very honored. Dana, and I may tell on you a little bit, your dad's name was Dan, and that's why it's pronounced Dana. So it's for her dad. So I call Dana my political sister because we started politics together and we want to finish it together. Right, Dana? And she has been wonderful to work with, and you did a great job up here, Dana. I'm really proud of you, and I'm proud to work beside you. I also have Steve Maynor here, who's my chief deputy, sitting in the back here. Thank you. He actually runs the office, And so, sheriffs say they do a lot, but the chief actually does it. And so when you have a chief of police in town, he is the chief of police for the deputies. And so he actually runs the office for us. And then, my paparazzi and my, sidekick here, my wife Annette, I literally couldn't do this without her. And so I want to tell her thank you for raising our kids and keeping me fed and all the things that happen while you're serving other people. There has to be people behind you helping those people help other people. And I really couldn't do it without you. And I'm a little, he's helping me over here because I was prepared to do slides. So I had a really pretty picture I was going to show over to us. I want to make sure y'all can see it here. I know they can see it online. But she does a great job and I really appreciate it. Appreciate that. My background, if you don't know, like I said, I grew up on Jack Bennett Road. I was an emergency medical technician with the Volunteer Rescue Squad. I got my paramedic certification. I became a firefighter, a police officer in Chapel Hill, where I worked in community policing back when it wasn't cool to be in community policing. We actually worked in public housing, and yes, Chapel Hill has public housing. It's all on dead end roads. And I volunteered to work there. I worked a lot with juveniles when I was there and left as an investigator. People say, why did you leave Chapel Hill? I have no idea. Chatham County at the time was in bad shape. The sheriff's office was. They'd lost 5,000 pounds of marijuana. Anybody know what a pound of marijuana is? That's a trick question. That's a trick question. You should not know what a pound of marijuana is, but it's basically like a tractor trailer load. And, there's no way an officer wasn't involved in some way or form. It would never really got solved. Sheriff Richard Webster, remember Webster? Sheriff Richard Webster ran and he won and he was going to be a change agent. And I talked to him and somehow he convinced me to come down here and work for him. And I did the pro and con list and the cons were really, really long and the pros were not many for being here. And it was honestly a leap of faith to come down here. And 2 years in, I'm scratching my head. Steve came in with me. 2 years in, I'm scratching my head saying, why did I do this? But sometimes you just have to have faith. And sometimes you just have to jump off that diving board and hope the water is in the pool when you hit it. And so I was lucky enough to get to do that. Since being at the sheriff's office, I was hired to be in charge of training in the school resource officers. A year later, I found myself in the jail as a jail administrator. And learned probably the most of my whole career in the jail of anything I ever did. You're really like a town manager. Everybody thinks it's like Otis with a key, but it's not because you're dealing with judges and doctors and mamas and girlfriends and mental health providers and dentists and everything else that you can think of in a jail. It's like running the town. Then I moved to special operations where I was over the court system and the jail at the same time. I helped not design, but I helped on the project to design the historic courthouse when it was rebuilt, the new justice center when it was built, the temporary courthouse we had before we built the courthouse, and then the new jail. And if you hadn't seen the new jail is cleaner than a hospital. How many STAR graduates I got in here? I noticed some people in. You asked these people in here that went to STAR. We're going to talk about STAR at the end of this. The jail is really, really nice. It's not a place you want to stay, but it's not a place you're scared to go and visit and see what's going on there. And then the last place that I've had to help is moving into the school admin building. You know, the school administration's moved out of a building because it wasn't good enough for the school administration, but it was good enough to put the sheriff in the building. And it is in bad shape. My office is now my 3rd grade classroom. And so I'm proud to have the space, but it is really good for operations that I got everybody together, but the sheriff's office needs buildings like I can't even explain to you how bad we need better space to operate and work in. And so I'll get to that a little bit down the road too, I hope. In 2016, I was unanimously appointed by the Board of Commissioners to be the sheriff when Sheriff Richard Webster retired while he was in office. And in 2018, I ran my first election with her. And in 2022, we ran election again. And we won again then. And then I plan to be on the 2016 if everything goes right on that as well. We don't sign up until December. I try not to talk about it too long because the last couple of years I've been saying it starting in September and everybody gets confused because November, the municipal voting goes on and they say, Sheriff, I went to vote for you, you weren't on there. And I'm like, it's not till March. So the primary is in March and then the general is next November and we'll do all the signing up in December. I'm actually proud to serve on the president of the North Carolina Sheriff's Association last year, and I'm the chairman of the North Carolina Sheriff's Association Executive Board for this year. That is truly an honor when the people doing the work that you do elect you to represent them. And I will tell you, it's not a majority of Democrats doing that. But when you're the sheriff, and I'm being straight honest with this, there is no D or R sheriff. When they say you're a D or an R, then you ain't doing something right. There is no D or R in her office either. Mike Roberson is a Democrat. I believe in the Democrat issues, but when I'm the sheriff, I'm an S. And so we're going to follow the law. We're going to do the right thing. We don't care if you're registered to vote. We don't care how you register. We don't care if you're a resident or not. We're going to do the right thing by everybody that's in front of us and treat you like family. So there's a couple of things the sheriff's responsible for. Civil process. I know my STAR graduates know what that is. That's that whole due process thing we talk about. You got to serve the paper, get it back to the clerk, let you know something's happening. We do that a lot, but you don't hear about it because it's usually done right. We run the jails. The jail I have to run. I wish I didn't. We do have the lowest incarceration rate in the state. That means we have less inmates per population than any other county. I'd like to take credit for that, but I have absolutely nothing to do with that. That is all the judges. The judges put them in, the judges put them out. It's just like the principal, right? When you got kicked out of school, anybody get kicked out of school? I didn't. I don't know how that works. I assume the principal does that, right? Not the teacher. We're like the teacher. We just take them to the principal. They put you in, they take you out. And then the other thing is we're responsible for security in the courtroom. We're only responsible for security in the courtroom when it's running, like in the actual room, but we do security for the whole court facility. That actually ends up being easier for us, but we do security for the clerk staff. We do it for probation and parole, for the DA's office, because it's all in one building and I can do it at one spot. And so it gets a lot more efficient for security for a lot of people that need that service. And so and then the last thing that we have to do is called keep the peace. And that's actually the way it's written in the Constitution. I'm like, what does that mean? Keep the peace. Well, keep the peace is a big definition of what our patrol officers do, our school resource officers, our narcotics officers, our investigators, everybody else, almost everybody that's sworn that's not doing those other three, which is about half my staff, are in the keep the peace mode. And so that's an important thing that the sheriff does. And then there's one thing we do that we don't have to do, but we told the health department we would do it because we was already doing it, and that's run the Animal Resource Center. I was lucky enough to get the county commissioners when they built this new Animal Resource Center. It is even better than our jail. It is beautiful. We just got that. We took it over in 2019. Took it over because half my staff was getting hurt by animals because we were responding to animal calls. And honestly, I'm being straight with y'all. I didn't think they were doing their job very well, and they won't. But it wasn't until I got it figured out they didn't have enough people. So they had 5 people doing what 19 people need to be doing. And so they were way overworked, and they would just cut stuff off at 4 o'clock and say, call the sheriff. And my problem is I'm sending people out there that ain't never seen a cow. I'm sending a person out there that don't know how to catch a cat or don't like snakes. You know what I'm saying? And so what we did is we told them if we're going to go, then I want to train them and I want to make sure we're doing that. The commissioners gave us the staffing for the building they gave us in 2019 this past year. In this past year, we finally got our wheels up under us. We were struggling the first couple of years. It's like everybody ever failed and it took you like 20 yards to fall. That's what I felt like I was doing for the last 4 years. You know, you're just trying to keep catching. But we're fixing to do a spay and neuter clinic. We're getting the permission for all of that ironed out. That's been a big thing. And you're going to see adoptions kick off. Not only are we going to do a good job in Chatham County, we're going to help other counties around us with their spade and neuter so that they can adopt animals as well. So if you get a chance to volunteer or want to be part of something special, that Animal Resource Center is fixing to take off to another level. It's a beautiful place. Our office is big on community engagement and treating people like family. I don't expect my people to change tires on the side of the road, but if your mama's tire was flat on the side of the road, what would you do? So that's sort of the way we do work there. We have great people working at the office. I'm telling y'all, you got to want to work a lot and not get paid a lot though, because what they're worth, I can't pay them. If you doubled their pay, it ain't enough. If you tripled their pay, it's probably not enough. And so how many of y'all would run into someone shooting at you for $20 an hour? It's about what we start out. How about 22? 25. I mean, we want to hold some murderers and rapists for less than that because they get paid less than deputies. And so when you start talking about the pay and you hear Mike saying they don't make enough, they don't make enough, they don't make enough, you can say, well, oh man, they make $50,000. Yeah, but would you send your kid in there for that? You know, so they're not doing it for the wallet, they're doing it for the heart, but the right thing is to take care of people. And if they're doing a good job, I just want to take care of the people. So when you hear us talking about that, that's what it's about. Next thing I want to go to, I'm sorry, my thing is a little small here. I got it on the boards here, but if y'all can see this little orange or red area up here in the corner, y'all see that? That's where we are. This little red area over here, that's called Siler City. That's where all the calls are. You know the difference in Siler City and here? Siler City yeah, that's good. Distance is good. Siler City has a police department. And what do we have here? One deputy or two deputies that's working. They may have 3 or 4 working a shift over there. So when you hear me say we need more deputies, it's not because crime's going up. It's because we have more people living here than live in Siler City. You have more people in Briar Chapel than live in Pittsburgh. And so we don't have the crime, but we have the expectations. So they build cities in unincorporated areas. You don't pay city taxes, but we expect city services. And I'm not saying y'all, I'm just saying other people that ain't here. Does that make sense? So when you say, I want you to watch the stop sign, I got one deputy that covers 140 square miles. I can't watch a stop sign all day. I can't do speeding enforcement on one street because we got calls to answer. So if we're going to build towns in the area, then we have to urbanize our force and get our force up. If the county is growing like that, I need to grow with it. And over the last 10 years, I've been growing, but I've been growing like that. Does that make sense? And somewhere down the road, when traffic gets really bad, I don't know if it's got bad out here yet. You think it's bad, go to Apex and watch that one. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And what we got to do is get ahead of it because there's a thing called catching up or keeping up. We got to catch up and keep up. Does that make sense? So I've got to catch up with the time we haven't got to people as it grows, and we got to keep up with the growth. The commissioners are working with me on this. It's not at the rate that I want it, but I think it's the rate that we can swallow it, and it's the rate that they can put it out there too. There's a lot of people that want a lot of things. We want good schools. I want clean water. I want all that stuff too, but we have to make sure we grow with the community. Sheriff's office substation. That's another thing that we don't have in that little area I showed you a while ago. I want to call it a Sheriff's Community Resource Center because I want it to be more than a sheriff's office. I want it to be a meeting space like this for the community to come to. I want it to be somewhere where you can drop your kids off when a lot of parents are exchanging kids. I want that to be a fun place to be. I want there to be a swing set in the front of the sheriff's office. I want it to be a trail out back where you can walk. I want it to be a place that you can go and get your services there and you ain't got to drive through all that traffic that will end up being towards Pittsburgh. And so we have a plan to build 5 or 6 of those as growth happens in the areas of the counties where it grows and as the growth happens. We needed one here in 2013. We don't have it yet. They have me budgeted $2 million to build a sheriff's substation. Y'all know what average house price is in Chatham County? It's $600,000. $2 million is a lot of money to me, but it is not enough money to build a substation. So when you hear the commissioners having to bite the bullet and move money or that kind of thing, that's going to have to happen somewhere down the road. And if you don't have crime, it doesn't make sense. So why we're putting this money? He just said there ain't no crime. Why we're putting on? We're trying to prevent. You know the perfect response time? 0. Somebody's heard my speech before. Somebody says a minute. No, I want you there before it happens. I want a negative number, right? What if we can prevent it and we don't have to respond? So I think response time is a terrible way to look at how well we're doing. What we want to see is crime rate go down to be absent. I would love, and the commissioner told me, we had 35,000 responses in 24. She said, what should it be? I said, 0. She said, you mean the deputies would do nothing? I said, absolutely. We would go around and give water out to people mowing grass and make sure people get out their driveways. That's exactly what I want to happen. Is it realistic? No, but should be the goal. The goal should not be to be busy with the blue lights on as quickly as you can get there. That means you're failing. Does that make sense? We don't want to be in that spot. We want to be in the other. Crime rate. You hear a lot of stuff about crime rate when people run for sheriff. I'm going to tell you what it is. Crime rate is how much crime there is per 100,000 residents. Okay, so how many crimes are reported by 100,000 residents? There's not 100,000 residents in Chatham County. There's 84,000. But they do a ratio of that. And I'm proud to tell you that North Carolina's crime rate, and 2024 is the last numbers that we have stats for because 2025 is not over with yet, okay? I actually know where the rate is. It's not official because I can see the numbers coming in, and we're as good as we were last year. But the average for North Carolina, out of 100,000 residents, there was 2,344 crimes, okay? Chatham County had 889 crimes. That is 62% lower than the North Carolina average. So we are one of the safest counties in the state. Yeah, that's good to do a clap about. A lot of people will say, well, that's what the sheriff is doing. No, the sheriff does not prevent crime. We collect information about a crime and we help go solve it. You know who prevents crime? You do. You help us by having a relationship with us. You help us by giving us the information. We want to prevent those crimes from happening and make that number lower and lower. And so thank you for helping us do a better job at that. They'll split these crimes up sometimes into property crimes. There's property crimes and then there is violent crimes. Now, which one sounds scarier? Violent crimes, right? Violent crimes up. Well, violent crimes is not many crimes. Property crimes is a whole lot of crimes. So when they say violent crimes is up 10%, well, if you didn't have but 100 and it went to 10, does that make sense? That's 10%. But if you've got 4,000 property crimes, that's 4. So you start seeing how they start messing with the numbers a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I don't want violent crime, but we are 72% lower than the state average on violent crimes. How can you help me on property crimes? Help me, lock the door. Just because nobody has stole it, don't mean somebody won't steal it. Another thing is I don't have a key. Key fobs. Don't keep the key fob in the car. So this spot, it gets hit some. Briar Chapel gets tore up a lot. And so what happens is, and I hate to pick on one county, but there's a county to the northeast corner of us that groups of kids, and when I say kids, 16, 17-year-olds, 5, 6, 10 of them come down here in a stolen car. And then at night, and they just walk through driveways and all they do is pull on door handles. If it's locked, they don't mess with it. If it's unlocked, they go in there. The first thing they do is try to start the car. If the car starts, that's their next stolen car. And then what they do is go through that car and if they can't start it, get anything that they can sell. So change in the ashtray, electronics, guns, anything that's in the car that they can quickly take, they just take it all and they put it back in the next stolen car they got and they're on somewhere else. The next night, they just go to another county. And every night they're going somewhere breaking in. So how can we stop that? Number one is lock your stuff up. Does that make sense? Lock your cars. I mean, don't put your key in the car. Okay? That would help us a lot. You may hear, I'll tell you this. We have some new technology that we have started out, and I'm going to say the word flock, and that scares some people. Okay? Because when they watch flock on TV, flock is a whole lot of other stuff other than what we're using it for. Okay? What we have is called license plate readers, and I've put them at the county lines. The reason I put it at the county line is if you drive a stolen car inside Chatham County, I get an alert. I don't go look for that car. Why? Why do I not go look for the car? Because by the time I get alert at 7:51, there's a car, I go up there and look for it, it ain't there no more. So what we do is when we get alert there's a stolen car down 751, we come to Farrington or we go to Briar Chapel and we say, hey, there's a stolen car that looks like this. Go to Briar Chapel and see if you see it. Go to Farrington and see if you see it. I had in my mind when we saw these license plate readers that it was running everybody's tag. It does not do that. So when people get out here about civil liberties, and I understand it, I'm the same way. I don't want all my stuff out there. We are not running your tags. It is looking at that tag and it is only searching that tag against our wanted list. What's on the wanted list? Stolen cars, stolen tags, missing people. And any time, people that we have warrants on, sex offenders, people that have domestic violence protective orders. So if I know a domestic violence protective order just hit one of the barriers, then I know that, hey, I might need to go check on so-and-so. Does that make sense? So it's an early warning system. Some of you say, well, we don't need that in Chatham County. Well, they got it all over Wake County. Does that make sense? That's what they're sending you those bills for driving on those roads. So I want to be real with you that we have those. We have them all on the county lines on the major roads coming in. We get a bunch of hits on that. We don't end up solving a bunch of them because by the time we don't find it. So it's about 20% hit on those that we're seeing. So I want to be real with you about the technology. We do have drones too. So if you're at some of the events downtown, you may have seen a drone in there. We have drones. Well, drones are our new helicopters. They're cheap. There's nobody in it. Does that make sense? A 12-year-old can do what we're doing, but we have to have a pilot's license to do it. We have to follow the federal FAA guidelines. I'm actually a pilot myself of a drone, went to school myself to do that. And so we have pilots that are doing that. And so if we have a missing kid, we're putting a drone up. It's not a good idea to run through the woods with a dog with somebody that has a gun that's waiting on you. Y'all understand that? That's what we used to do. So this whole thing about use a dog, we're going to use the dogs where we can use them, but I'd rather send a drone up, see where someone is that's violent kind of thing. And so we have had some autistic kids that we use the drones with a lot. There's actually one kid that he knows when he sees the drone to run back home. And that's honestly the truth. The first thing we do is we put the drone up in the air and make as much noise as we can. And he goes back to the house because he thinks he knows that it's going to find him. So, so the drones have come really, really in handy. We used it at the demonstration to make sure everybody's safe the last time. Honestly, you probably can't see them in the air when they're up there. They're so high. And the recordings on that are protected. They're not public records. So it's not something that we can put out to the public. What else are we doing? We've got national CALIA accreditation. CALIA, if you don't know what that is, it's a national law enforcement accreditation for an outside agency to go through our policies, to go through our proofs to say that we're actually doing what we're saying we're doing. So when I say we're doing internal investigations, they actually come and look and say, how are you doing it? Show me that you're doing it. I mean, you have accreditations in any of the jobs you've had. They have accreditations in all kinds of things. This is the big one for law enforcement. And we had 0 deficiencies in our first accreditation. So that helps you on lawsuits because your policies are up to date. And law enforcement seems like the most important thing that we do, but it's not. The most hazardous thing that we do that we're most likely to get sued on is run a jail. And so we are actually ACA accredited now. And we have 0 deficiencies on that. We had one thing that we had to check on the building, but we're 0 deficiencies on that. We have ACA accredited in our jail as well. North Carolina understands that a CALIA and ACA is expensive, and I am with the Sheriff's Association as well, Sheriff's Commission, and we're starting a North Carolina accreditation that's cheaper and easier, a little easier to get. To help all law enforcement in all jails to be accredited so that we can help them get their policies up as well. STAR Academy. I have my STAR thing over here. It's on this thing. This is the new iPhone 18. I don't know if y'all, no, I'm just kidding. That's not iPhone. Instead of a belt clip, it comes with a backpack, I think. But that's a pretty cool thing we have in the community. But that's our app that we have, and you can join the STAR class on there. STAR class for us is that you come with us 6 nights, 1 night a week for 3 hours. It's an hour of talking and 2 hours of you doing something, and you get to do what we do. So rather than me tell you what we do, you're going to ride in a car with a deputy. You're going to actually eat jail food. We have a big video game that's a shoot, don't shoot scenario. It's not anything comes out of the gun. It's like laser, but it feels real. And when you're reacting to it, you get to do that. We actually hold a trial. Sometimes Dana's helped us on the trial. We put a deputy on trial for DWI and you get to sit in the jury box. So we want you to experience everything that we do. So it's not just me telling you, you get to go feel it yourself. It's a cool thing to do. We have a new thing called Rising Star. That is going to be for 14 to 18-year-olds. There are certain things I had to cut out of the STAR program because, you know, when you actually go in there and see the inmates, I don't really want 15, 16-year-olds. I've never seen the inmates do anything, but just in case they did, we do them different in the summertime in June. We are expanding our patrol coverage here. We're going to create another zone. We have five zones. I don't have it up here. We have 5 zones in the county. We're going to create a zone 6 that's basically going to be Briar Chapel, Farrington, Governor's Club up to the county line. You're going to have a deputy closer by than what we've had in the past. Thank the commissioners for starting that, but tell them don't stop because I got to have more. One ain't enough, but tell them thank you for helping the sheriff get that going, but to continue to do that. Make sure if you don't have the app, get the app. Is the app a good deal, Chris? We also have, you can see who's in jail, what the bond is in case you want to get somebody out. We run a special. You pick the first one, we pick the second one. No, I'm just kidding. We do have adoptable animals on there. We do have our press releases. We have job applications. Everything that we do is we try to put on that app. If you can, the weather's on there. If you want to click the weather, it's on that app. If you can think of something that ain't on that app that you use your phone for, let me know because I want that to be your newspaper. I want that to be the source of information that you get of what's going on in Chatham County. The alerts, we try not to give out too many alerts. If we give you an alert, it's probably a weather alert or something really, really bad. We're not pushing out a lot of junk. You know what I mean? I'm not just trying to get hits. So please, it's free too. Okay. And there's some brochures back there to pick those up as well. Fraud and scams. We have created our own scam unit. I did a poll. I don't like polls, but I did a poll and actually paid for it. And did you know that 88% of Democrats don't think we're doing enough on scams? 88%. Do you know that 89% of Republicans don't think we're doing enough on scams? I don't know why there's a 1% difference, but I figured, you know what, probably need to do a little more on the scams. It's pretty much a no tail right there, right? I don't know what the other 10% are doing. That's what I don't understand. But we do have 2 people that are doing scams. They love it. I will be honest with you. There's somebody scammed in Chatham County about every day. What happens is they don't report it because they get embarrassed. Everyone in here can get scammed. They're going to play on emotion. If anyone in here has an emotion, that's what the scam is designed for. And they can do it 1,000 times and be wrong. They don't have to hit but 1 out of 1,000. They make money. So it might not hit you, might not hit you, oh, I got her. Does that make sense? So they just run the numbers on it. We're working with Secret Service and SBI to help us. What we were having a lot of problems with was the cryptocurrency. And so they are helping us on how to deal with that. So when they convert it to crypto, then it's hard to track. But we are working on some stuff behind the scenes. We are collecting more money off this to help recover some of the money that's gone out. I know a lady who lost a house because she was in a romance scam with a guy that she was going to bring from South America up here. And little by little, she sold the house and she was sending them a little money for this, a little money for that, and playing off of her emotion. The only time I told this story in church, so you know it's for real, right? We had a person got scammed $40,000 and my executive assistant was there and I love her. She's like she's just my confidant. And I said, there is no way you could scam me out of $40,000. She's like, Sheriff, don't say that. I said, there is no way you're going to scam me out of $40,000. Sheriff, you can't say that. I said, cause I ain't got $40,000. You might get $4. You might get $40. But let me tell you, the biggest scam that we have is that a deputy is going to come arrest you if you don't, because you missed jury duty. The sheriff sent it to you and Dana's name was on it and they'll use Dana's name. They'll use Mike's name or Steve's name. You're like, oh, I know Steve Maynard. He really does work here. Well, they can go Google it and look it up. They know where the area codes that they're calling and they just use a real name. No sheriff is coming to get money from you that you ain't already got a paper from Dana Hackney on. Does that make sense? We're going to get money, we do go get money from some people, but you done seen us about 10 times and Dana Hackney knows about every one of them because all the money we get, we give to her. So nobody's going to come. If you get that scam and they say, well, if you don't do it, they're going to come arrest you, say, well, send sheriff right down here. Tell them, come on down here to the house and I'll meet him, and hang up and call us. And if you're any fear that it could be real, just call us. Okay. We'll let you know that ain't us. Now I had the STAR class. I've had 2 different STAR people who graduate that class that I said that to, they got scammed. So when I say it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. The emotion that plays on is the do right person. If you want to do right and you'll be shamed if you ever did wrong, I'll just pay it. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to do that. The do right, they're playing on that emotion. If you're lonely, that's the romance emotion. If you hadn't seen your grandkids in a while, that's the grandkid scam where they say they need money. There's a scam designed for every emotion that you can have. So please, if you do get scammed, let us know. And the quicker you let us know, the more likely we are to be able to help on that. The other reason I need you to let you know is because I need to let other people know. I won't tell them it was you, but I'm going to say, look, somebody fell for this scam. Be careful. This scam is going around. We put out the scam alerts so much. I'm like, don't everybody read this? But I think we have to be reminded. Does that make sense? Emergency preparedness, neighborhood watches. Y'all do a good job on that. Questions? Can we take questions, or you got questions for me? I'm ready for that. All righty. Easy questions. I take an easy question on second row. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Now you're talking about, of course, we all get scam emails. Are you talking about that we should report them if we actually get scammed? Or, I mean, we get so many.
Yeah.
Do you want us, when you look at an email and you say, oh, that's garbage, and you just delete it?
That's
Should it be reported?
That's a good question. We need a lot more deputies if we reported every time you got an email. But I need to know what the scams are. We're not going to take a report unless you probably lost money. Does that make sense? Or it was something new. So if you say, I got an email that I've got $25 million from some place in Africa, and all I need to do is well, we know that scam. We'll just put out that that's going back out again. I need the communication of it. It probably won't be a report. Does that make sense? You're welcome to. You're welcome to email me, and that would just help me. Okay. It's not technically a crime until you fall for it. Does that make sense? So if you send them something, then that's a crime. So it's not illegal for me to ask you for money. I need $10 because my tire's flat. If you give me $10, now that could be obtaining property by false pretense, but it's not illegal for me to ask for the $10 for a false. Does that make sense? I know it sounds crazy, but until you get victimized. Yes, ma'am.
Driving around Chatham County, there are some vehicles that say sheriff, and there are others that say police.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
That is a great question. And then there's some other vehicles that say highway patrol or trooper, right?
Yeah.
All right. So people get confused on this a little bit, especially if you're from areas that have a lot of more urban areas. Okay. Just because your address is is Pittsboro, doesn't mean you live in Pittsboro. Does that make sense? People just over there have an address at Chapel Hill. They don't live in Chapel Hill. You have a Pittsboro zip code. They have a Chapel Hill zip code. If you don't live in town, the police ain't coming. Police service towns and cities. The sheriff has all of it. So what that means is they're not coming here, so we're going to be the first ones coming. But guess what? I'm the sheriff in Pittsboro too. So if for some reason Pittsboro needs help, I'm going to help Pittsboro too, because we're the sheriff there as well. They pay extra in their taxes for the police officer. Does that make sense? When you pay your county, they pay county taxes and city taxes when you live in town. And so when you're in an unincorporated area, which this is, you're not paying for extra police force other than rural sheriff response. I think we're doing a really good job at it, but I ain't got enough people out there for the number of people that we're building houses for. Does that make sense? Good question. Oh, highway patrol. Highway patrol, only does the white lines and the yellow line. They can do anything that's in front of them. If a crime happens in front of them, they can deal with it, but they can't investigate crime. So they can't deal with a break-in. They can't deal with a scam. They can only do, it's called Chapter 20, but it's also the motor vehicle laws. So if your tags are out, if your headlights won't on, if you didn't have a driver's license, if you hit someone, if you're speeding, they do that. So here, when someone tells me there's speeding going on a state road, my first response is going to be, let's get the highway patrol on that, because that's the only thing they do, right? Can we do it? Yes. But if I got a guy here running radar or sitting on a stop sign, then I'm not answering the calls and dealing with what I think are the higher level crimes. Does that make sense? Yes. Yes. Sorry. She said, are highway patrol state employees? And the answer is that, and they get paid really good. Like really good.
I have a hard question.
Yes, ma'am.
Unpleasant question. What is your relationship with ICE?
I don't have a relationship with ICE. I am the sheriff of Chatham County. Now, there's a couple of trick words in that, right? The trick words are, do you cooperate? I don't know what that word means. I know what people try to make it means. I'm going to follow the law. I'm going to follow the law I like. I'm going to follow the law I don't like. I'm going to follow the law I wish would change. I follow the law I wish was. But whatever's written down as a law is what we're going to follow. Here's what I would tell you about ICE. If ICE did what the uppers say they're doing to us, I'd have no problem with what they're doing. But what I see happening other places is not what they're telling me they're happening. But I'm not seeing that happen here. Does that make sense? So ICE can go get arrest warrants. Every one of these detainers they talk about, they have enough to go get a criminal charge. But they don't. They make it a civil issue. I don't have federal authority. I have not been holding these people for the 48 hours, not because of Mike Roberson's opinion on what it should or shouldn't be. I just don't have the authority to hold them. And I don't think any other sheriff has the authority either, but there was about 5 of us that understood that it's probably called kidnapping, to hold somebody if you don't have the authority to do it. Now, what has changed is North Carolina has changed the state law, and now they are requiring us to get a magistrate to sign the order to hold them for 48 hours. I'm going to follow that law. And so what I would tell you with immigration is, even in the Hispanic community, they want the bad people out. So if you've done something bad, murder, drugs, robbing people, they'll go help you get them. What they don't want to be is just to be messing with people. You know, if you're fishing without a license, that's just, you got to deal with the state charge, but there needs to be some way of working with that. That has been politicized, I believe. But I'm going to follow the law, the ones I like, the ones I don't like. We have been cooperating with them all along. We're just not doing everything that they requested us to do because I didn't think we had the legal responsibility or authority to do it. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Do you know of any human trafficking going on in our county in the years that you've been here?
So I'm going to give you another non-answer probably. I don't know what human trafficking is. Because it's such a large title, right? That when people say human trafficking, some people mean prostitution. Some people mean bringing people over the border. Some people mean by working people like slavery kind of thing. So it becomes a large definition of what is human trafficking. So if you got somebody here working off a bill, is that human trafficking? You know what I mean? It gets a little squishy. That's one of those terms that people sometimes throw out. I'm being straight with you with law enforcement, where they really ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they just say they're doing something on human trafficking. I don't see it here. We don't have a lot of prostitution here. The prostitution that we do have is drug related. They're drug dependency related. They're doing it to get enough to get their next drug hit. It is more in the urban areas, but I'm not seeing that as a big, and I'm not trying to give you a non-answer on that. I'm just telling you, when you hear that word, that's a slam word sometimes that might not mean what you think it means for what they're saying that they're doing. There's a lot of people running interstate interdiction and they say they're doing human trafficking, and that is not what they're doing. They're doing drug enforcement.
Speaking of drugs, you read about a fentanyl crisis in the country. Does Chatham County have a fentanyl problem?
Everywhere in the nation has had a fentanyl problem. We identified our first problem in December of 2013. And I know this, I'm gonna tell you a little long story on this. Sheriff Webster had a heart issue and he had a valve replacement and he was going to go to be put under. And he looked at me and he said, Mike, I was the chief deputy. He said, you're in charge. And so, do whatever you need to do while I'm under. I'm gonna be under for a day or two. And so he was under. When he woke up, he looked at me and on the TV it said, I think it was 3 deaths, 10 sent to the hospital in Chatham County. And he's still under drugs and he's looking at it. He looks at me and I was like, now that's a funny story a little bit with the sheriff, but it wasn't funny for the people that died that night. We had fentanyl in cocaine. The people were having a party. They were passing around the cocaine. 3 people died in 2013. 10 more were sent to the hospital. There was not an ambulance available in like 2 counties. And so that was when we knew we had the fentanyl crisis. People are just now in the last 2 or 3 years starting to adjust. We started adjusting in 2013. In 2017, we created a sheriff's partnership with mental health and the health department to work on the fentanyl issues. Every one of our employees have Narcan, which is a drug that reverses the effects of opioids. We have been on this early on. Our numbers peaked 2 years ago. The numbers that you get from the state are a year behind. So I already know we're 3 years better than we were 2 years ago. Does that make sense to you? And so do we have a problem? Yes, but it's getting better and better and better and better.
Comments, compliment. So just maybe a final note. I just wanted to say thank you for all you do and to tell you that I live in an area, well, Galloway is part of this one, and I think all around us, we have a lot of people who move new down here and a lot of people who move from other areas. And I've been in Farrington and Galloway now for about 25 years. And I was very much not an active participant, well, a supporter and involved in the situation down around the courthouse, however many years ago that was, to remove the statue of the Confederate soldier. There was a lot of tension, some Ku Klux Klan. And then this year, I've been involved in 3 of the major protests down around the courthouse. And in every case, when I've had newcomers say to me, "Oh, I don't know, is it safe? Is it, the Ku Klux Klan's down there, or there's going to be all this violence about these marches?" I said, "No, there won't, because Sheriff Mike, well, you have such a handle, and we trust, and everyone around here knows you're not partisan, but you are not going to let stuff get out of control down here." And it makes me and our neighbors all feel very comfortable and very appreciative of the job you do here for us. Thank you.
And I do appreciate the nonpartisan. Mike Roberson is partisan, but the sheriff should never be, and neither should the sheriff's office or the employees. So I don't care what they're registered to vote. They just have to follow the rules when they work with us. And so thank you for that.
I have a question regarding, in the past, say, 5 years, I'm guessing just in Chatham County and especially in Pittsburgh, there's another at least 50,000, 100,000 residents that have moved in. Has the tax base base gone up to help with all the needs of not just the sheriff's department, but
Yeah.
everywhere, the infrastructure, everything?
That's a really good question. It's not went up that high. We're at total of 84,000 now. I don't know if you said 100,000 moved in. There is projected to be more people moving in. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. And the county commissioners probably explained it better than me. Whenever a resident moves in, it costs almost as much in services as you pay in taxes. So when you move in, we've got to build a school, we've got, water, sewer, all the things that you have to do. The county doesn't make money on residents. The county makes money when you make and sell stuff. And we don't make and sell a lot of stuff in Chatham County. So when we talked about car plants and battery plants and chip plants and the business stuff that comes in, well, that brings in other problems, right? And it's like clean water and some other issues, but it does create revenue. And so, it's sort of a balancing act. I wouldn't want to be a commissioner because, you're playing this balancing act all the time. You want a better school or you want deputies? I want both. Well, we don't have enough of both. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to do this, sometimes you got to do that. Commissioners have a really, really, really difficult job. But residential growth doesn't really grow the tax base because the cost as much as what it is that you're paying, if that makes sense to you. I think they don't want to hear you at home.
Thank you. Thank you. In the upcoming elections, if there are attempts at disruption, what will be done?
Yep. Well, that is a really good question. And I want to go back to the demonstrations. You probably don't see us at the demonstrations. I promise you we're there. We're not going to show our hand about where we're at. And so in the 2019, I guess, when they were doing the demonstrations downstairs, they wanted a picture of the deputy standing between the two people arguing. That's not what we're going to do. So I promise you, when you go vote, we have deputies very, very, very close by. You're probably not going to recognize them. They're probably not going to look like they're in a patrol car. But even at this municipal, we're doing security for it too. We're doing security for the ballot boxes. I don't want to tell you everything we're doing just because I don't want nobody to mess with the system, but everything I'm doing is through the election board, which actually is bipartisan. And so we go through them and ask them, what do they need? Where is it at? Every voting place has a judge that works, that sort of runs the place, and we work for that judge. And so if the judge says something's getting out of the hand, they'll let us know. We have extra people in marked cars and that kind of thing that will respond as well. But we're taking that seriously. So if you feel anything, see anything, let us know. We're probably not going to bring like lights and sirens in unless it's something really bad, because I don't want to create fear that's unnecessary either, right? Some people may say, I feel scared voting because there's a police car in the parking lot. You might say you feel scared because there ain't one there. So we're trying to balance that out to make sure that we're doing the right thing on that. We're working with the Board of Elections really closely on that. I think they met today on that, or yesterday on that, about the election that's next Tuesday for the municipals. Is that it? Okay. Hey, last thing I want to tell you, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being so involved in Chatham County. I look in here, I see faces that ain't just in Farrington. I see you in Pittsburgh and all over the place. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for being involved in the arts. Thank you for being involved in the animal welfare in our county. The things that you do past what you do just in Farrington. You are an important person and important people in our community. You have resources here that I don't think you understand that the rest of the county doesn't have. I want you to do that star because I want you to see the rest of the county. We have so much diversity here. Anything you can think of, we probably have in Chatham County. And so I want you to go out there and see it and feel it and touch it. Be involved in things that are going on in Siler City. Pittsburgh is going to be in good shape. Siler City is going to struggle because the people who can't now afford to live in Pittsburgh are now living in Siler City. And so there's a lot going on with helping feed people, these, what do you call them, kitchens? Food pantry kitchens, that is a big deal. Those are going up. Get behind those kind of things. There's a lot of volunteer that needs help in that too. Especially if you're retired, you're looking for something to do, that is something that you really can help other people live a better life. I want to tell you, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm glad to be part of you, and I still want to serve you. So thank you for letting me be your Sharon.